So welcome to a special edition of Word in Your Ear, or should it be Word in Your Lughole? There are three things that you can do to help us. One, subscribe. Two, leave a comment. And three, you can sign up to patcaniron.com, where if you do that, we can promise you to have the most exciting birthday ever. So today we welcome Bill Vinylless to go through some of our usual questions. So first up, Bill, can you tell us about the record playing equipment that you had in your childhood home? Well, can I just say thank you very much for inviting me to appear on Word in Your Lughole, a Scottish version of Word in Your Ear. And because of that, I'm wearing a special t-shirt, my Who t-shirt. So I think initially we must have had some sort of dancette type, this portable record player with a handle and a lid and one of these spindles that you could probably put 6 or 8 or maybe more singles on, and it would drop and play one after the other. I did hear of someone at my school who did exactly the same, but with LPs. LPs stacked up, 6 or 8 on the spindle. Can you imagine the damage that would be done to those LPs? But yeah, going back, so a portable record player, but when I was getting serious about music, I said to my dad, Dad, we really need a better record player than this. So he agreed, but I was looking, I'm not sure if you could buy stacked stereo systems at that time, possibly, but you probably would spend a small fortune on them. But my dad wanted a piece of furniture. Or Billy, we need to get a piece of furniture, not one of these fangled stacked sets of separates, whatever that is. So we got a Ferguson radiogram, and I'll show you the photo. And this is the exact model that we had. So it had a very interesting opening device. So the top bit receded into the back of the top of the radiogram, and the other side, I think, folded down. So yeah, you'll see it in the photo. And I think there's sort of room for maybe 20, 25 LPs in that sunken bit next to the radio. So there's no cassette player on that. That would come later. And then when we moved house when I was in my late teens, don't know if when I was a student or maybe when I was first working, I had this, what I thought was really great, music center that was portable, and it looked like a briefcase, and one half was your 2 speakers, and the bottom half had a radio, a record player, and the LPs would sort of go over the end of the briefcase bit, so they weren't fully supported on the platter. Maybe the platter was about 7 or 10 inches, I'm not sure. And then, did I mention there was a cassette playing device as well? And I think you could record on it as well as the radio. So can't remember how much I paid for that, but I thought it was the bee's knees at the time. Secondly, can you tell us about the first record that you bought, the first 45 and the first LPs? Well, I think it would have been this one, which is Hawkwind's Silver Machine. I remember listening avidly to the radio for the sort of sonic opening bars to Silver Machine. Of course, Lemmy played the bass in Hawkwind at the time. So that was the first one that I bought as a single. But we did have in the house this one here, which is She Loves You. And we also had Can't Buy Me Love. And the B-sides were You Can't Do That and I'll Get You. I'll get you in the end. Yes, I will. I'll get you in the end. Oh, yeah. So that's why I'm not a singer in a band. Later on, I did get, the Hawkwind started the quest for more singles. As I said, I'm a big Who fan, so this was Let's See Action. And I think I got Joined Together, but they proved, I didn't get them at the time they were in the charts, so they proved quite difficult to track down, but I finally got them. And another one I was going to show is Dreamer by Supertramp. The reason I wanted to show that was when I was at the School of Architecture in Aberdeen, it was next door to the School of Art. And I think in my first term at the School of Architecture, I saw a poster on the canteen door for Supertramp, Crime of the Century. I don't think I knew Supertramp, and I didn't bother getting a ticket. What a tatty. Why didn't I get a ticket for Supertramp? First LPs bought were this fantastic Fireball by Deep Purple, and it's got Fireball, Demon's Eye, The Mule, No One Came, Anyone's Daughter. Really great gatefold and the textured cover as well. So I think at the time I told my parents' friends that it was progressive rock, but I think I didn't really understand the term. And progressive rock to me was anything that wasn't in the pop charts. So yeah, they're more heavy rock. And then you'll be surprised that I got David Essex. Really loved the early David Essex songs, Rock On and America and Gonna Make You a Star. I used to wear jeans, baggy jeans, and a waistcoat that I think was my granddad's waistcoat, and a denim shirt. And I used to think I was super cool. I don't think I was super cool at all. But I enjoyed the fashions anyway. And then some other early acquisitions were Bob Dylan's Freewheeling, Hunky Dory, which started me off in a great collection of David Bowie records. My wife had a lot of David Bowie records as well. And then this one is very important. This was Meaty Beaty Big and Bouncy. I don't know if I heard Can't Explain or My Generation on the radio. And I thought, oh, I must check out this band, The Who. So I bought Meaty Beaty, and I was not disappointed. So I'm buying Meaty Beaty Big and Bouncy in 71, 72, having missed hearing The Who in the charts in the 60s. So yeah, I do remember watching Top of the Pops on a Thursday evening and seeing Aretha Franklin doing Say a Little Prayer. And yeah, we used to watch Top of the Pops very regularly. And but I think it was mid-70s that I really got into collecting music. So I mentioned The Who. I think my first version of Tommy was the London Symphony Orchestra's version of Tommy. So it took me a while to buy The Who's version, although of course Daltrey and Townsend were guest artists on that LSO version. But you have to remember that, well, we didn't have Spotify or music streaming services, and records were deleted from the catalogue. So it was a while before I was able to get The Who Sings My Generation. And it came as a 2-for-1 with a live album of Magic Bus. So Bill of Bill Vinyl Lists, have you got a book that you want to plug? No, sir, I don't have a book to plug. So I've no anecdotes about my time in the music press or sleeve design or anything like that. But yeah, the way I got interested in music or knew about music wasn't really through Melody Maker and NME, although I did buy the occasional one if there was The Who were on the cover or something like that. But my introduction to the history of music was really, the history of popular music was the Story of Pop. And you can see the first issue had Elvis and David Bowie on it. And you would get really good write-ups and good essays and recommendations of the best albums to get, or, you know, whether you should just do the Richard McCook thing and just buy a compilation or a best of. And the other things I used to get was books such as Top 200 Albums. And this was compiled by Paul Gambaccini. And in the back, there are music critics giving their top 10. There's Roy Carr, Ray Connolly, and Robert Kreisco, Lorraine Altman, and I think Pete Wingfield and Tim Rice. That's top 200 albums. I think it was compiled in 1978. So number 1 is that one. 4, 5, and 6. So we've got Van the Man. And then we've got some Stones and Abbey Road as well. Also, these books, A Wop Bop A Loop Bop Bap Bam Boom by Nick Conn, which I think is quite critically acclaimed. Some photos of Little Richard and Jerry Lee Lewis. I think that's PG Proby. Yeah. Billy Fury and Bob Dylan. And the Stones and the Everly Brothers, as well as Bill Haley. Chapter titles include Roots, Bill Haley, Elvis Presley, Eddie Cochran, The Twist, The Beatles, Mersey Beat, The Rolling Stones, R&B England, Bob Dylan, The Who, PG Proby, America After the Beatles, Anglophilia, Bacharach and Folk Rock, The Monkees, Love, and England 1966. I hope it's not referring to football in that. And then 2 other books, Rock File 3 and The Rock Primer, which had really good recommendations. And would you believe it? This is Writings and Drawings by Bob Dylan. Isn't that a vivid pink? It was a school prize. I remember going along, they didn't give me this book, they gave me a book token. But prize giving at my school, which was a comprehensive academy, but I think they had money that had been donated to people for students who did well in various subjects. But they must have wanted to keep the ethos of, you know, every child is important, and we don't want, you know, a handful going up for all the prizes. Not that I got much prizes. This one was for art. So appropriate that I got a writings and drawings by Bob Dylan. And it's really good because it's got all the lyrics to all the songs, and it goes album by album, etc. So really good resource, that. And a picture from, or still from, Pat Garrett and Billy the Kid. I don't have a book to plug, but I've just plugged those books that were written by someone else other than me. Bill, you know that David Hepworth guy? Have you ever bought any of his books? David Hepworth books? David Hepworth? Who's he? Yeah, of course I've got. This is a fantastic book. Fabulous creation. How the LP saved our lives. I thought it was going to say shaped our lives. But this is a really good read, as is Uncommon People. So plug to David Hepworth from Word in Your Ear or Word in the Attic. And he's written quite a lot of books, but these two are to be recommended. Tell me, Bill, have you ever met anyone famous from the music industry or music press or anything like that? The answer is no, but I almost did. We'll come on to the old grey whistle test later, but I was lucky enough to be at Whispering Bob Harris Country Radio 2 concert from Aberdeen. I think our local radio station was doing very well, so they were plugging, I think, the Radio 1 Roadshow and this Radio 2 Country Extravaganza. So I went along to the Lemon Tree, which is a really good music venue. I've seen Teenage Fan Club there and Bert Jansch, and I've seen some tribute bands as well. But this was a sort of country special. So they had Gretchen Peters and Rodney Crowell. So I went there with a good friend of mine who has a condition called Usher's syndrome. So his hearing's affected. So the music he hears is different to the music I hear. And his field of vision is restricted as well. So my friend had arranged for us, arranged with the management of the venue, that we could have a table near the front so that he could lip read when a song was being introduced, and that, yeah, he would have the best view possible. But he was speaking to the lady from the management, and I got shown through to the table so that I could keep it for my friend Bob. And Gretchen Peters and Rodney Crowell were doing their sound check before they opened the doors for the public to come in. So I was treated to a couple of numbers by Gretchen and Rodney. And at that stage, I had no idea who Rodney Crowell was, let alone that I think his father-in-law was Johnny Cash. He was, well, married into the Cash dynasty anyway. And I think he later was the vocal coach for Tom Hiddleston on the biopic about Hank Williams. So yeah, they must have thought it very strange, this sort of one pale-faced Scot in the audience before anybody else was allowed in. And I was just sitting there quietly. And I'm sure if I had wanted to, I could have got into a conversation with Rodney Crowell and Gretchen Peters. So yeah, if you're shy and retiring, you miss out on these things. So, these word in your ear guys, Mark Ellen and David Hepworth, claim to have been presenters on the Old Grey Whistle Test. Can you remember them on the Old Grey Whistle Test? So I remember the Old Grey Whistle Test, and I think I might have seen Mark Ellen once or twice. Don't remember David Hepworth at all. But of course, the presenter that I remember most was Whispering Bob Harris. And I remember him wearing a Jackson 5 badge. I thought that was pretty cool because I loved the Jackson 5, but it maybe wasn't the thing that the audience or the group that the audience of the Old Grey Whistle Test would normally enjoy. I remember my parents would go to bed and I would stay up and watch the Old Grey Whistle Test because it was on at 11 o'clock at night. Some interesting vintage animation and old films like Buster Keaton films, etc., that they showed and played the music from the Allman Brothers or the Edgar Winter Group, etc. But yeah, I can't really remember some of the acts that were on the Old Grey Whistle Test, but maybe the Eagles, etc. And did Annie Nightingale sometimes present it? I'm not sure. And finally, we usually end these discussions with your nomination for the greatest record ever made. So, the greatest record ever made. I've got two for your delight. And the first one is actually a 45, although I'm showing it from the Temptations, All the Million Sellers. So I reckon that this one down here, Papa Was a Rolling Stones, is one of the greatest 45s ever made. That long introduction and the funky bass notes, and yeah, the way it builds and builds, and then the vocals on top of it, just Tama Motown at its very best. But then if you push me for an album, it has to be Who's Next. So yeah, Baba O'Reilly, all the synthesizers, and yeah, really great violin outro on that as well. Bargain, Love Ain't for Keeping, My Wife, Song Is Over, and then we flip to here, Getting in Tune, Going Mobile, Wonderful, Behind Blue Eyes, and then one of the greatest rock anthems, Won't Get Fooled Again, with Roger Daltrey's blood-curdling scream in the middle of it. Yeah. Nicky Hopkins played on The Song Is Over and Getting in Tune. And the violin was played by Dave Arbus, not Airbus, Dave Arbus on Baba O'Reilly. So this is the greatest record ever made. So, Bill Vinylist, thank you for being a guest on our show. And I hope that you've enjoyed this special edition of Word in Your Ear, Word in Your Lughole. the Scottish equivalent. So thank you, sir, for having me on Word in Your Statutory. So that has been a bit of fun. I hope you've enjoyed watching Word in Your Lughole, or since they call it sometimes Word in the Attic, maybe it should be Word in the Statutory, since we're in Scotland. Statutory is a Scottish or a Northeast word for conservatory. This has been a bit of fun for me, and I've no chance of being invited properly on Word in Your Ear. And I didn't get a chance to speak about the record shops that I used to buy my records in, the Co-op and Bruce Miller's, the other record shop. But maybe Mark and David will invite me on their show. If you want to, put something in the comments below. And yes, I got this idea from Rob Walker, who thought my random records and music ephemera was a bit like my own Word in Your Ear. So he's the person to blame for that seed being put in my brain